Happy Wednesday, Packers fans. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, give those 5-star reviews. Those things help a ton, so thank you so much for doing that. Today, we're going to be going over Packers-Dolphins grades as our primary piece of information and primary piece of discussion. I know that in just about 24 hours as I'm recording this and as I'm posting this, it's going to be Packers-Lions, and it feels like a millennia ago that the Packers beat the Dolphins at home. But with Thanksgiving and everything, it did take me a little bit longer to put together the grades this week, so I apologize for that. Thank you for bearing with me, but we'll get to our top and bottom performers on both offense and defense and some noteworthy performances as well. We'll get there in just a moment. We're going to go over the injury report, but one thing I haven't had the opportunity to tell you guys about yet is the Milwaukee Admirals game on December 21st. I'm going to be hosting a live Q&A prior to the game, so you can ask all your Packers questions, but that's not it. Special guests at the event are going to include George Kuntz, Ed West, and Robert Brooks, all former Packers, of course. You can meet them, do a meet and greet, come for the Q&A. It's going to be a full Packers themed night, and most importantly, I believe I'm going to be a human hockey puck as well at some point during the night, so it's probably worth checking that out in and of itself. You can get tickets, I should say, for under $20. I'll post the link in the description of today's shows, but make sure to check that out. It's going to be a ton of fun. Again, that's December 21st, Wisconsin Admirals. I will be there. Cannot wait for it, and it is going to be worth it. So again, check that out, get your tickets, and you will not be disappointed. Also, love telling you guys about Autograph. Autograph is your one-stop shop for all things Green Bay Packers. As soon as I am done recording this, I'm going to be recording an exclusive piece of content over on Autograph, and that is going to be my 3 players to watch for Packers-Lions on Thursday Night Football. So you're going to want to check that out as well. You can get all your favorite podcasts, including the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I should say all your favorite Packers podcasts, including the Pack-A-Day Podcast, all your favorite Packers articles, all in one-stop shop form. You can get everything all at once, and it's a beautiful thing. Plus, you get bonus points for listening to your favorite podcast there. So if you're listening to the audio version of Pack-A-Day, it's worth checking it out over on Autograph. And then again, make sure to check out my exclusive 3 players to watch over on Autograph. That should be up shortly if it is not up already as you're listening to this. All right, then we get to the injury report because it is a massive injury report today presented by Habish, and Rotier. There is no room for interpretation of who might play and who will not play for either of these teams. Packers have 4 players who are out. The Lions have 4 players who are out. For Green Bay, Jaire Alexander, Romeo Doubs, Edgerrin Cooper, and Corey Ballantyne are all out for this game. There's no doubtfuls. There's no questionables. There's no anything else's. It is just 4 players. All of them are out. And again, that's Jaire, Doubs, Cooper, and Ballantyne. For Detroit, there are no questionables. There are no doubtfuls. There are 4 players who are out. Taylor Decker, their starting left tackle, Levi Nwuzurike, Josh Pascal, and DJ Reader, all along their defensive line, all out for this game. Now, the first thing I will say is injuries suck. I want to see this game with everyone at full health because that would make it a whole heck of a lot more fun. It's still going to be an unbelievable game. It should still be a massively entertaining game. Both teams have huge players who are missing from this one, including Jaire Alexander for the Packers, including Aiden Hutchinson, Taylor Decker for the Lions, amongst others. This is going to be a massively impacted game when it comes down to injuries. There's no 2 ways around it. But both these teams are going to have to navigate it. It's a Thursday night football game, and whoever can navigate those injuries a little bit better is going to have an opportunity, a real opportunity to come away with the win in this one. As far as Green Bay is concerned, Jaire Alexander, a huge loss for the secondary. Now, it would be his first game back in a while, so you're never quite sure how that's going to go. They just came off of a couple wins without Jaire Alexander, right? So you're not super concerned about it going against a pretty high-powered Miami offense with no Jaire. They just got through that. But man, Detroit's offense is really good. You would love to have Jaire out there. Unfortunately, they will not. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a huge target that you're going to have to shut down without your best cover corner. And that's going to be a challenge for Jeff Hafley and company. Romeo Doubs, bummer that he's out, but you have the bodies to replace him, right? You're not concerned about weapons for Green Bay. You have Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed and Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks and Bo Melton and the entire group of playmakers, right? You are not needing for more weapons. You would love to have them, no questions asked. I wish Romeo Doubs was playing in this one, but you can get by without Romeo, but that's still going to be another loss. Edgerrin Cooper, thankfully, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie coming off really good games. We'll talk about that in just a moment. You would still love to have Edgerrin Cooper out there. and then Corey Ballantyne, core special teams guy, depth piece at corner. Those injuries are going to hurt for Green Bay. For the Lions, man, they are beat up in the trenches. Taylor Decker being out gives you a weakness on that offensive line, finally, right? Like, they are such a strong offensive line, 1 through 5. And now Dan Skipper's a good offensive lineman. Like, he is a good, solid rotational offensive lineman. Like, you can get by with him, but now you have somebody that you can attack a little bit more aggressively, probably put Rashawn Gary over him. That is going to be a massive matchup. And then 3 more players along their defensive line, not even including Aiden Hutchinson. They released James Houston a couple weeks ago. Like, they are just battered along that defensive line. And when Ruzarike, Pascal, and DJ Reader all out for this one, run the ball, Green Bay, on that defensive front. Alex Anzalone, their really good linebacker, is out. Malcolm Rodriguez, really good run-stopping linebacker, he is out. Like, you have opportunities to take advantage of it, and Green Bay has to find a way to do so. So Zadarius Smith, they did go out and acquire, but even that, we know is Zadarius Smith, a little bit of a big game hunter, right? There's opportunities to run on him. So we'll talk about that more in the preview show tomorrow, but injuries are going to play a massive role in this game. Of course, the Packers have an elite injury recovery team, helping players safely find their way back to the field. And if you are injured after an accident, you will need a team of qualified and experienced personal injury attorneys to champion your cause. And the personal injury attorneys at Habish are always here for you. And with a national reputation and compassionate hometown service, they will work hard to get you the compensation that you deserve. When you call Habish, you are going to talk to a lawyer, and you're going to talk to them directly. It's super easy. Their number is 800-242-2874 or 800-2HABISH. You can also visit their website at habish.com. That is Habish and Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. All right, now let's get into our Packers-Dolphins grades. Excited to jump into this, even if it is a little bit later than usual. So again, my apologies for that. Let's go our top 3 graded players on offense. Jordan Love, plus 1.5. Josh Jacobs, plus 1.2. And Jaden Reed, plus 0.95. Let's start with Jordan Love in this one. Couple misses, right? Let's talk about the negative first, and then we can talk about all the good things. Had the opening throw on the opening drive where he's got Jaden Reed deep open down the field, and he just misses him. And this is Jordan getting a bit too antsy and climbing the pocket a bit too aggressively. That was a situation where you'd like to see him make small movements in the pocket and plant his feet and hit that to Jaden Reed for what likely could have been a touchdown right then and there. Instead, it's a huge miss. He also has the miss later in the game to Christian Watson down the field where it could have been, probably should have been a pass interference. Like late in the game, the game was not in the balance, but Green Bay kind of went for that final jugular shot at the end of the game, and Watson's got him by a step. And that's one that, at least Jordan should have put on him a little bit more. Instead, Watson had to come back to it. Should have got the pass interference call, didn't get the pass interference call, and you have to live to see another day after that. But that's one that Jordan could have put much better on Christian as well. So a couple misses down the field, but did a much better job of taking care of the football, never really put the ball in harm's way, stayed consistent, stayed accurate outside of those 2 throws, and took his check downs when need be, but also came up with some big plays. The tight window throw to Jaden Reed in the end zone following the muffed punt and getting the ball back and throwing that is a unbelievable throw. An absolutely unbelievable throw. To go from the far left hash to the far right corner with minuscule separation with, an overthrow, it goes over his head, right? It's incomplete. And it's a 3rd down play. So this is a touchdown or field goal potentially. Overthrow, and it's incomplete, you have to kick a field goal. A little bit to the right, and it's out of bounds, you have to kick a field goal or go for it on 4th down and potentially risk no points, right? Underthrow, meaning throw it low, and it's a missed throw, and you're going to have probably a field goal attempt or go for it on 4th down. Miss left, and it's 7 the other way. That's the risk reward. And there's a small football size window that you can place that ball into with enough arm strength to get it there, to make sure that it's not a pick six going the other way. And he did it. Like, that is a unbelievable throw from Jordan Love in that scenario. Of course, he hits the Christian Watson deep ball down the right side of the field as well. So he did connect on that deep ball on that one. He has the play where free rusher coming off the edge, avoids it, hits Jaden Reed with the Jaden Reed one-handed catch. Just a really nice overall day. Took care of the football, came up with some big plays, a couple throws he'd like to have back, but overall a plus performance, a very positive plus performance from Jordan Love in this one. Josh Jacobs, tough running on the ground, right? 2 point whatever yards per carry, 2.4, somewhere around there. But he worked to get that 2.4 yards per carry. A lot of it was numbers game where Dolphins just had some numbers in the box, wasn't always blocked up cleanly. And Miami was I think a little bit smart to what Green Bay was doing, a little bit wise to what they were doing from time to time as well, and just penetrating and getting into the backfield. And Josh Jacobs had to avoid tacklers all day. He missed it and made a ton of people miss and got extra yardage where there shouldn't have been yardage. Was able to get some a touchdown run on the day. And then also what he did through the air with 4 catches, 70 some yards, I believe it was through the air. And of course, the biggest play of the day where he completely juked a linebacker out of his shoes and jockstrap and pretty much everything else. And then went on and broke a tackle. And that was just the type of day that it was for Josh Jacobs. He continues to be unbelievable. Such a huge find for Green Bay. And he had another really, really nice day. And again, yes, you would have liked to have seen more from a 4-point yard or 4 yards per carry, 5 yards per carry, whatever it might be. But I didn't put that on Josh Jacobs. I was a little bit more offensive line scheme stuff than I put on him. There was maybe one run that I thought he maybe could have done a little bit more with. There were probably 15 runs where he did more with than he should have got in the first place. So a very positive performance for Josh Jacobs. And then Jayden Reed, we kind of talked about the plays, right? He's got the play over the top that he was open for a touchdown, and unfortunately Jordan just missed him. Did a nice job getting open on that play. And then you've got the one-handed catch by Jayden. You've got the 20-yard reverse where he's making multiple people miss. Was it a reverse or was it a screen to the outside? I don't know. He just does fantastic stuff all the time. He's got the touchdown reception where you get it out to him on the bubble screen and he gets upfield on that and scores a touchdown. Just play after play after play. He's a stud. He's a playmaker. He's dynamic. Get the ball to him and great things happen. And it's just another really positive performance for Jayden Reed. My bottom 3 on offense: Elgton Jenkins, negative 0.85, Josh Myers, negative 0.45, and Zach Tom, negative 0.15. So not a ton, right? Like that Zach Tom grade is basically like a neutral grade. I thought from a run blocking standpoint, there was a lot to be desired here. From an Elgton Jenkins standpoint, had the personal foul penalty towards the end. And then there was a play right towards the end of the game too, where he just gets absolutely nuked on a play that ends up in a loss too. So there's a couple plays towards the end that really brought Jenkins' grade down quite a bit. It would have been not anywhere near as bad. Probably would have been the second lowest graded player behind Myers, but a couple really bad plays at the end for Jenkins brought it way down. There's some early parts in this game where I actually thought he was playing pretty well, but later in the game kind of fell apart from him a little bit for Jenkins. And I mean, thankfully at that point, the game was pretty much, away and it wasn't really in the balance, but you still want to see guys finish the game the right way. And Jenkins had a couple bad plays towards the end of this one. Josh Myers, just some of those inconsistencies kind of creeping back up for Josh Myers, where it's still, to me, far, far better than what we've seen in his career so far. Maybe a little bit more back towards his rookie year. In fact, I think his rookie year, I have a little bit graded higher than where he's at this year, but this is a workable Josh Myers, where the last 2 years it was like, man, I know he knows the calls and the checks and the audibles and getting the line aligned, but like there's a lot of bad on tape. Now it's just a little bit inconsistent. There's a little bit of bad on tape, but you can live with it when all the other things that he's doing to help the offense is out there, right? And I think he's a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. Thought there were some things that he could have cleaned up to help the offense a little bit and Josh Jacobs a little bit to maybe get a few more runs. Couple plays where he got beat with, basically immediately right in the middle of that offensive line. And those are going to kill you and lead to immediate penetration by the defense, which makes things really hard for either your quarterback or your running back. So just some things to clean up there. Not panicked or worried or concerned about Myers. Still think he's having a pretty solid year overall, and I think much better again than he has been any time in the last couple seasons. But the last, I would say, month or so, we're starting to see a little bit of the inconsistent Josh Myers sort of rear its head again. So would love to see him getting back to the way he was playing prior to his injury, quite frankly, and the way that he was playing earlier in the season where I thought he was playing really, really good football. So just a little bit of a disjointed game for Myers. And then Zach Tom was nothing egregious. There was a couple plays where he kind of got bull rushed, a couple plays where he allowed some penetration. And then, some really good pass protection as well. I would say it mostly kind of evened out, but if you take some of the negatives with it, it did end up being a slight negative for me. This is about as bad as it gets for Zach Tom, is a slight negative grade. I mean, he's just so freaking consistent. One of my favorite players to watch, even in like a slightly negative game. And again, PFF actually had him as a positive in this one. I think they had like a 70 grade on Zach Tom in this one. So there's actually a decent amount. Usually PFF and I pretty close. There's actually a decent amount that we disagreed with on this day, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They liked Zach Tom a little bit more in this one. I thought he could have maybe done a little bit better on handful of different plays, really. And I get nothing even really noteworthy though. Just a slight negative for Zach Tom in this one. Some noteworthy performances on offense. You had Chris Brooks with a plus 0.35 grade. Of course, that big run that he had where he broke multiple tackles was great. But once again, good as a blocker. Pass protection was there. Caught the ball well out of the backfield. Had the one play that got tackled on a screen that they didn't bite on it. And I think it was Myers couldn't get out there in time, not due to anything that Myers did wrong. And they had the tackle for loss, but there was nothing that Brooks could have done on that play. Overall, really nice day for Chris Brooks against his former team. Dontavian Wicks is the interesting one. I had a real positive grade on him, plus 0.55. He had the, couple catches, had the big drop once again. And it's like, can you just that one thing, right? But my goodness, as a blocker, was he freaking awesome in this game. And some of those plays to the outside, whether it be to Tucker Kraft or the Jaden Reed touchdown or just those plays, like he is out there blocking his what off. And he is tenacious and aggressive and physical, and you don't expect it out of him. He doesn't seem the intimidating type, but man, does he get after it as a blocker. And I love watching him when it comes to that. And man, just catch the ball. Just please catch the ball, and everything is complete. And you put the entire puzzle piece together, or the puzzle together. It's the last puzzle piece that you need. But he did catch some later in the game, hopefully a little bit of confidence going into this game against the Lions. They're going to need him in this game, but still ended up as a huge positive, primarily due to the blocking that he did on the outside. Christian Watson, plus 0.9 grade, thought he was also good as a blocker, and then, of course, had the big explosive play down the field. He also got open late in the game that should have potentially been a bigger play if Love would have hit him on that one as well. So really nice day for Christian Watson. Tucker Kraft, I think, probably goes without saying, plus 0.5 grade for Tucker Kraft. Couple plays as a blocker where he just kind of missed entirely. This could have been, I think, if he just doesn't miss a couple of those blocks and is a little bit more consistent as a blocker, we're talking about a much higher grade here for Tucker Kraft. But overall, I think this was a really, really impressive performance from him. He continues to stack success, run after the catch, break tackles, run through faces, and it's a really fun brand of football from Tucker Kraft right now. And then Sean Ryan, plus 0.15, highest graded offensive lineman for the day. Continues to be a little Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know if you're going to get a really good performance, really bad performance. This was one that was finally a little bit more towards the center, whereas like a good, solid overall game, nothing too super great, but nice day for Sean Ryan. And like I said, my highest graded lineman, in large part due to some of the run blocking that he did in this game, was once again, arguably the best run blocker for Green Bay, which has been a little bit of a consistent theme for him on the season. Let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball. Top 3 graded players on defense: Quay Walker, number 1, plus 0.7. Number 2, Rashawn Gary, plus 0.6. And Javon Bullard, plus 0.5. Gary and Bullard were some differences here. And actually even Quay, I was a little bit higher on. I mean, Quay had 4 pressures in this game, and I thought as a blitzer, he was fantastic. Now, the middle of the field was open, and I thought there were some times where Bullard, who we'll talk about in a moment, Isaiah McDuffie, Eric Wilson, Quay Walker, I thought they could have been a little bit tighter and reacted a little bit better to some of that intermediate passing game plays, especially to Jonnu Smith. I thought they were a tick late in reacting or not getting enough depth or not closing as quickly as maybe they could have in some of those. But they're also, those are tough situations, and you're sort of in a way, I don't want to say completely conceding, but you're allowing more of those sort of check down sort of plays in the middle of the field. So I thought there were some things that he could have cleaned up there, but I thought there were multiple good plays in coverage. He was great as an attacking downhill player, made some good plays in the run game, played far more physical. And again, for 2 weeks, we've seen some really, really good Quay Walker out there. Like this performance quite a bit. Of course, number 1 graded defensive player in this game for Quay Walker, like this one. And he's really putting together 2 great weeks, and hopefully can make it a third against Detroit. Rashawn Gary, the one real negative that knocked him down in this one was the lining up in the neutral zone that took away a sack from him. I think it was Enagbare on the play. I think it was Enagbare, if I remember correctly, but that would have been a huge negative play. And instead for the Dolphins, I mean, a huge loss. And instead you get the 5-yard penalty on Rashawn Gary just because he didn't line up correctly. And it didn't give Gary any advantage on the play. So the play would have happened the exact same, but it wipes out a huge sack and instead gives them an automatic 5 yards, and you redo the down. That's a bummer. He could have been, I think you add, not only take the penalty off the board, but give him a half sack on that play. And you're probably talking, you're talking about my highest graded defender on the day. So that was the one frustrating play, but I thought he looked much more physical, used a bull rush far more often, was able to get off of blocks, looked much more menacing. Like, I liked this Rashawn Gary. Just clean up that neutral zone infraction penalty. This would have been a great game for Gary. Instead, to me, it was still a really good one. And then Javon Bullard, man, I don't know. PFF did not like him as much. I don't know. And again, I think some of the middle of the field, completions maybe they had against him, but Now, he made a couple really big tackles in this game, including one run that I think was going to go for a touchdown if he doesn't fill the hole perfectly and make a big time tackle in the hole. And like those are plays that from last year's safeties just don't get made. He comes flying up aggressively, makes big tackles. He's physical. He's intense. Man, I've talked about this before. I love the way that he plays. I thought he was really, really good in this one, basically tackling anything in his area. Thought he was good in coverage. Again, maybe a couple things in that intermediate area that he could have done a little bit better, but overall, I thought this was a really positive performance. He's going to be, I think he's going to be a great player in this league. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's hungry. I think he wants to be really, really good. I think he has all the things that he needs to be really, really good, and he just continues to get better. I thought this was a really good step for him, taking another step as a positive player on this defense. And I don't know exactly why PFF had him dinged so much, but I thought this was a great game from Javon Bullard. So top three, Quay Walker, Rashawn Gary, and Javon Bullard. My bottom three is another one where we were reversed on. They actually had a pretty solid grade for Devonte Wyatt. I didn't see much from Devonte. There was a couple plays here or there, but he struggled to get off of blocks, didn't make an impact as a run defender, got moved off of his spot a couple different times, and had one of those neutral zone, or I think his was actually like a neutral zone infraction penalty. So like penalty plus not getting off blocks plus not making impact plays, it to me was a pretty sound and solid negative for Devonte Wyatt. I talked with Aaron Nagler breaking down the game that'll be up on Thursday, the preview show. But, Aaron mentioned like it'd be nice to see, Devonte Wyatt get taken off the milk carton. Like he needs to be a more impactful player. I thought this was a tough one from Devonte, and really since coming back from the injury, hasn't quite been the same. So I would love to see him break out in a pretty significant way against Detroit this week. Evan Williams, I thought this was his toughest game as a pro, primarily coming up and tackling. There are a few missed tackles in this game. And then also there was a couple plays in coverage where I thought he could have just been a bit sharper, reading the quarterback's eyes, taking a little bit better angles, and kind of getting from point A to point B a little bit quicker. Seemed a little bit more hesitant in this game. And I don't know if he's just trying to not give up big plays and making sure that guys like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill weren't getting behind him, which if so, understandable, right? This is the first sort of pedestrian or even lackluster game from Evan Williams. He's going to be totally fine. I don't have any major concerns over him. I still love him as a player, but I thought this one was a little bit of a tougher game for Evan Williams. And then Eric Wilson, thought this is a tough one for him as well. There are a couple plays that they just ran right at him. And they used the fullback on him and got him kind of, I don't want to say depleted on a couple plays, but just took him out of the play and allowed for some big runs by Miami. So I thought there was a play where he took on, I forget if he took on the fullback, but right after the one where he got blocked easily by the fullback and got taken out of the play for a big run, he made the big play on the next one and was in on the tackle the following play. So he would bounce back here and there, but I didn't think we saw quite the range from Eric Wilson in this one. Certainly no big plays, and I thought he struggled as a tackler far more in this one and just kind of getting off of blocks. They kind of ran at him on a couple different occasions. So bottom three, Devonte Wyatt, Evan Williams, and Eric Wilson. Some noteworthy performances, all really on the good side of things. Kenny Clark, plus 0.5. Really liked what I saw from Kenny. Got double teamed a ton in this game. When he didn't get double teamed, I thought he looked pretty darn good. Came away with a sack. Thought he held up against those double teams in the run game and really just kind of did the yeoman's work in this one where he not going to get a lot of love, but he held up the point of attack on numerous occasions and allowed for other players to eat because he was eating those double teams. So that was a good game from Kenny. Thought TJ Slayton had another nice performance, multiple times holding up at the point of attack in the run game, even against double teams, and then getting some penetration and push in the pocket as well. Really like this performance. He's actually been playing some pretty good football as of late. LVN plus 0.35 had the big sack again in this one. And you just see him kind of getting to the top of his rush and now being able to disengage from those blockers far better than he was earlier in the season. Had another one later that was close to becoming a sack as well. Like what I'm seeing out of LVN, taking a step in the positive direction, seeing a little bit of an improvement from a run defense standpoint as well. So hopefully that can continue to trend in that direction. Aaron Mosby, plus 0.35. Of course, that big play in the end around where he exploded into the backfield and immediately had a tackle for loss, but made a play here or there as a edge defender as well that wasn't an unblocked one. So this is a positive day for him. He didn't play many snaps and still came away with a couple positive plays in this one. Isaiah McDuffie had some ups and downs, had some plays in coverage you would have liked to have seen him do a little bit better, but really as a run defender, I thought was fantastic. Ended up with a plus 0.4 grade in this one. Somebody that you'd probably like to be just on the field in base defense, like get him on the field and let him go, kind of hunt in base defense and then get Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker out there probably in your nickel defense. But with Quay out, with Edgerrin out, you needed McDuffie a little bit more, especially coming off of the injury too. I thought he was really, really good in this game and deserving of the positive grade. Keyshawn Nixon with a plus 0.3, and then Xavier McKinney with a plus 0.1. The only thing that's noteworthy about that is like it wasn't a unbelievable grade, right? No big interceptions, no big forced fumbles. I thought there was a couple plays here or there where he maybe could have taken a better angle or made a better play on the ball, but was consistent coming up and tackling and kind of doing his job as he always is. So just sort of to recap, top three on offense, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and Jaden Reed. The triple J's, Jordan, Josh, and Jaden. Bottom three on offense, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, and Zach Tom. Top three on defense, Quay Walker, Rashawn Gary, and Javon Bullard. And the bottom three on defense, Devontae Wyatt, Evan Williams, and Eric Wilson. So those are your highest and lowest graded players for this week. And again, some noteworthy ones in there as well. That's going to do it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow with our full preview show. Shout out to our All-Pro and Hall of Fame members, Mo Saden, Minnesotan, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brandon Paletta, Jennifer Wright, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Wong, Arnoldo Espinoza, Peter Ritaka, SoCal Pack, Jay Zimmerman, B. Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Gesford, Step Keat, Love and Football, Dylan Pat Scott, and Bobby Santoro. If you haven't checked out those memberships yet, make sure to do so. I will see you guys. If you're listening to this before 7 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, Pack-A-Day Live will be tonight, so check that out. If you're listening to it on Thursday, I will be doing a pregame show at 4 p.m. and a live postgame show as well as soon as the game is done, so check out those. Otherwise, I'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you for all the support, and until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.